Hey everyone, this is Chris, and you're listening to One Cross Radio, and today I'm joined by Marcel Knot.
Good morning.
Good morning, Marcel. How you doing today, man?
Really good, really good.
Awesome. It's been a while since I've seen you.
Yeah, it's been about a year, you said, right?
Yeah.
I forget, sorry.
No, it's all good. You're a very busy
people
man. Marcel heads up the Youth for Christ Center in Waterdown, Ontario, and for listeners, if you're not aware, I used to work for YFC in Toronto, running in the Pape Youth Center. So when I saw that YFC was up here right before I moved, I was like, I gotta at least go meet up with the guy and see how they're doing. So it's exciting to see this space. I wish you guys could see it. I'm gonna link to the website so y'all can see everything, but we are in an awesome sound booth right now. It's pretty exciting. I'm geeking out a little bit. So anyways, Marcel.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Here
man.
we are. That's okay. I'm still here.
Yeah. So can you share a bit with us about your testimony?
Yeah, sure. My testimony, it goes a long way. Starting actually in Europe. I was born and raised in Europe, in Holland.
Sweet.
So a nice Dutch guy who flew across the pond. So I grew up in a home with a family of 6. So we had 3 younger brothers. And in my family, so my dad's side is all Jewish.
Okay.
My mother is Dutch. Well, both lived and grew up in Holland, but my grandparents went through the Second World War, survived the Holocaust, were in hiding. My grandpa was in a camp, escaped the camp. So there's a lot of history there with the Second World War. And also, out of that, when they came together, so they raised 7 kids, my grandparents did, and there was just a lot of struggle from all the memories from the war and the emotional problems that they had to face. And so raising kids was not that great. So my father being the oldest, he experienced a lot of abuse or a lot of dysfunction in the family through all that. And so as he raised 4 boys, it was really tough for him.
Yeah.
And so what happened, I had a father who could not give love or share compassion with his kids. He was mostly dealing with his own problems. And so he had something that's called borderline disorder. And so so was my father, and being the oldest of 4 boys, I took the brunt of that. So as I grew up through the teenage years, I had a lot of bullies to face at school. I wasn't really a good kid at school with academic, and then I was kind of self-centered, not self-centered, sorry, I was a little bit more introvert, and so no friends. Father was abusive emotionally and some physically, but mostly emotionally. And so through that, my teenage years, I started to separate myself a little bit from my family. I started to be in my own room. Again, I think the enemy was playing around with me because he was just telling me I was no good, I was nobody, and that was kind of the voices that went through my head. And so actually at 17, I tried to commit suicide. So my hometown had 3 different train stations, and so I picked one and left a suicide note at my parents' table, and I was ready to jump from the train. And that was coming. So I was the only one there on the train station, and so before I was ready to jump, I saw a train coming. I heard a voice tell me, an audible voice saying, "I love you." And I saw nobody on the station there, so I questioned that, because I grew up in the church, a Dutch Reformed church, and then my parents were at 13, went to an evangelical church, but I still felt disconnected. I still felt lonely. I still knew about God, but I didn't understand God. I didn't have a connection with Him, no relationship, pretty much my parents' faith, but with upbringing of someone who as God as a father, it was hard for me to relate to that, as my dad was not a good father. And so I questioned that. So I asked God, well, if I don't see any of your miracles, signs, and wonders that I read in the Bible, then I give you 2 weeks. Like I'm done. And so it's pretty much 2 weeks, and I'll be back here. And so in that week, about a weekend later, I think it was. So about a week later into a weekend, I went to some youth retreat on the north side of Holland, and that's where really a miracle happened for me. Was that I knew a girl from the next door town, and she was always in a wheelchair. She grew up being paralyzed from the waist down since birth, and I saw her walk there, and I'm like, what happened? So I asked her straight out, like, what happened to you? And she told me a story that she was at home. Her father's a pastor, and he had many people pray for her. And then one evening, a friend came over, a female friend, and said, "Hey, can I pray for you?" I said, "Sure." And so she prayed, and she says, "My legs got warm, and my feet started to straighten out because they were kind of crooked. And I was able to walk to my parents' bedroom." Like, are you kidding me? So it's like, yeah, Jesus did this for me. So for me, I needed a spark of hope.
Yeah.
That was the testimony from our own lips, and I like, well, this can't. I guess it can be. So I explored Christianity, explored Jesus more. I went to Israel for 5 weeks, and I encountered God in a mighty way, and it changed my life, and it changed for who I was. And I started believing my identity in Christ more and more. I started to read the scripture. I was supposed to get, God provided more friends for me who could literally support me, and a mentor, someone who really poured into me, who kind of became almost like a second dad for me.
Yeah.
And so, so God has brought all these people in my life, and of course Christ changed my heart. Yeah, it's amazing.
And while you were sharing, it was just, there was a couple things where I'm like, man, there's so many things I've seen when I've worked with youth, and I'm sure you have as well, where just that importance of having a strong male role model, like not knocking women role models at all, but just that issue of, I've had a rough or not the best father, so then when it's God the Father, that's hard to wrap your head around. It's something you encounter. So I want to employ you, man. I've seen you at work here and then out with other people, so you're being a great male role model, and that's
thanks, man.
Awesome to see. So it's important.
For sure.
And then the healing piece, just because it's so easy to think like, oh, Jesus healed in the past when he was walking, but it doesn't really happen. But it still does. It just blows your mind.
Yeah, he's the same yesterday, today, and forever. So, right?
Praise God, man.
That's amazing, right?
So when did you feel the call to your ministry?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. So when I was 17, 18, so I'd done high school, I found a trade. It was printing. So I did the printing press operator for a while. But I really felt like God was calling me, and I didn't know what or how. So in 1995, there was the Youth for Christ ministry in Holland, and it was about the main office of Youth for Christ in Holland was about half an hour from my home. So I got to know someone who was in my church and says, "Yeah, I'm starting for Youth for Christ. Like, what is that?" And so he introduced me to it, and so I really felt like, wow, maybe God's calling me to share my passion and love for Christ, but also, as my life has changed into a situation that was very looked very dim, I believe God can also change other people's lives, even the youth that maybe go through the same struggle. So I actually kind of applied, not thinking of anything at first, but for about a year, I saw an internship. So I quit my job. They hired me first. I quit my job. And I was living at Youth for Christ for a whole year. There was a big building that had all these different departments, but also upstairs. This is an old 18th century building that had a whole floor upstairs where people would live who were part-time volunteering.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, so I became the assistant property manager, where I would be involved with the property, but also with the camps that was going on at this place. It had a big couple of acres and a guest house, and they would have kids there come from camp. So I would take care of the kids, and I would take care of the needs there for music and sound, but also just getting involved with the kids and different trips. And also we would go with a team of like a music team, drama team, to the schools and share through a play at the local schools about Jesus. And so I was involved with it for a year, and it was really the call, first time for me, that I really felt that God can use me in this ministry. So and later, actually after a year, I met my wife, and she was Canadian. So it was after quite the journey of another year and 2 months, and then we got married. And then somehow, where do we live, right? Live in Canada, live in Holland. And so, for living in Holland for 2 years, because I couldn't stay here, I didn't have a permit at all. Yeah. So we had to live in Holland for 2 years, and then we immigrated in 1999. Okay. And so, so that's kind of how it all started for me to come to Canada.
Awesome. And as you were saying that, I was thinking of when I interviewed and have chatted with Pastor Matt Pamplin, where his wife was over in England and they met, and then it was, all right, where do we live? And now, dude's back in Canada and serving the Lord greatly. So
totally.
Like, it's awesome to hear when that happens.
Yeah.
So, actually, you've already answered this because Youth Unlimited is part of Youth for Christ. When you came over in '99, did you immediately get hooked up with Youth Unlimited, or was there a bit of a... You did?
Yeah, so let me answer. I'm nodding here, but let me answer that question, because when I came here, I didn't even know anyone.
Right.
I mean, my wife knew. She lives in Milton. She grew up in Milton. And so when I came here, we kind of lived in Brampton for 6 months, and we came to Burlington and we bought a house there. Okay. But again, I kind of picked up the trade, the printing, the graphic design, all that stuff that I used to do in Holland. But I didn't know of Youth of Christ. I didn't know. I looked a little bit around, but I didn't really find any connections. And so it wasn't until 2004 where in the summer of 2004, I was in a local church in Waterdown, and there was an insert in a bulletin was, hey, they're looking for a director for Youth of Christ in Waterdown to start something brand new.
Nice.
And I'm like, well, I'm not that kind of guy. I mean, you know, I knew who I was, but my wife and I came down from the stage because I play drums in a worship band. When I came from the stage, my wife said, hey, look at this insert in the bulletin. Like, you should apply. I was like, yeah, I guess, but I wasn't really convinced. So, but I thought, well, if God wants me there, it will happen. So I applied, and I didn't hear anything until like the fall of 2004. And so they finally had a meeting with the board. They formed a board of YFC in Waterdown, board of committee members, and so they did an interview with me, and I was hired. And so then I started something fresh, something brand new. And the amazing thing about YFC Youth Unlimited is that they will give you the tools and training to say, okay, what is God's calling you to do, and how do you connect with kids? How do you start a ministry and build something? So, that's how I got involved. They hired me in 2004, and then by November, I started, and then and through the training, I started the first program.
Nice, man.
And that was the recording studio.
Which we're sitting in.
They were still sitting in today. I know. Well, in the revamped one. The one that I started was in my own basement of my house.
Okay, wow.
So that's next door. Okay. And that was a little bit smaller, but this is definitely a blessing.
Yeah, this is big time.
Yeah.
So, how has YU changed your view on missionaries? So for me, when I came on board, like, they're like, you're a missionary now. And I'm like, no, they're the people who go. And it was a concept that was weird to me, but the concept of the urban missionary. Like, did you have anything like that at all, where it's like, I'm on a mission, but I'm just local, I'm not going anywhere? Or
it felt a little different, but again, because of my experience in Holland, because I've done that for a year, I saw the needs there.
Right.
And so, but for me, coming to a brand new community and not being involved yet, I walked around the community. You look around and you see these beautiful homes in Waterdown, affluent community. And you wonder, like, is this where God wants me? And what is the need here?
Yeah.
That was always the question, right? So, and it was really hard when I actually went to the high school, because I'm the campus life ministry director. So being in the high school, even there, you see the kids with the nice pair of running shoes, cool clothing. iPods were not out yet, so but maybe they had a cool flip phone. I don't know, but
the indestructible Nokia ones,
the one you can toss. But I mean, you look around, like, well, is there a need?
Yeah.
What is the need?
Yeah.
And that is kind of, maybe it's not urban ministry, but as much as it's Hamilton.
Yeah.
You see the needs right away on the streets, right? But,
well, it's when I lived in Waterdown for the 2 years, and then I saw that you guys were opening, because I think you opened right before or around the time that Jill and I moved. I was thrilled, just because as I'm looking around, I'm like, all right, we got a lot of open parks, but I'm also seeing a lot of shoes up on wires, which from times in the city, you're like, all right, so some drug deals are going down.
Yeah.
And it's different, where people will describe, like, at-risk youth as always youth on the street and in low-income areas, which is true. But when I look at Waterdown, which is a pretty well-off area, there's not a lot for the youth to do.
Mm-hmm.
So boredom plus money, especially at a young age, isn't a good combination.
That's true.
So when I saw it, I was like, that's a need. They've got somewhere to go.
Yeah.
So now when they're bored, it's like, okay, I can go record some music
Yeah.
or hear a great talk or get to know some really solid people.
Yeah.
Instead of like, oh, okay, I guess I'll go see what drugs I can go to or what
Yeah.
party to go to.
I know, because the money is here, right? They
Exactly.
can afford it, right?
Oh, yeah.
So that's what I started to see in the school, outside the school, at Smokers Corner,
Mhm.
in the skateboard park, is that kids have money, and pot had always been around, but some
Yeah.
kids got into this heavier drugs of marijuana,
Yeah.
the cocaine, right?
Oh, yeah.
Cocaine stuff. So, and if ecstasy was also on the market back then, not as much in Waterdown, but we heard about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, you see that, and then you start realizing, okay, what's done beneath the surface? What is the roots of these issues? And I believe in Waterdown is that we have very affluent community, and parents are gone from like all day till 6 p.m. right?
Yeah.
In Toronto, because we're a
Oh,
commuter.
Exactly.
Right?
I worked in the Tim Hortons for 3 months, like right before we moved, and I was on overnights. So then from 4 to 6, it was nonstop. And even
Yeah.
working with some of the youth from Waterdown when I was at the Staples,
Yeah.
they're like, my parents can't pick me up because they're not getting home till like 7 o'clock,
Yeah.
8 o'clock because they're
Yeah.
coming back from Toronto on rush hour.
Totally.
Yeah,
And that's what the time is spent. Like, where do they spend their time?
exactly.
And how do they spend their time? So we saw, we heard stories about, kids not just binge drinking in the evening, but it's just doing when their parents are gone, right?
They're,
And
they're out of school at like
that's right.
3:45.
Well,
Or-
like the high school here is 2:35.
What?
So 2:35 till 7 o'clock. You can imagine
Yeah.
they have the free
Oh,
time to
man.
do whatever, right?
Yeah.
And so the drugs, the alcohol, the partying,
Mm-hmm.
and the sex been a rampage. Kids just go off, and
Yeah.
I think that was the issue. But the roots again of that was just they have the physical needs, but they did not have the emotional, social, and spiritual needs.
Mm-hmm. And that's where I was thrilled when I saw this place opening. I'm like, that's something. And it's not even just most of the Youth for Christ stuff I had been involved in Toronto. It was we could set up a drop-in in churches that we were like they were partnered with or already had established things. But y'all have a building,
Yeah,
a beautiful building.
yeah, it's been pretty
with,
amazing for
with
sure.
a great space. So it's
Yeah.
like neutral ground where it's like come on into this space and they can see all that. So
Totally.
that's awesome. So how did this wonderful building come about, and what was that process like?
Yeah, that's a good question. That was before my time. So
Okay.
there was a member of this community in that church community as well that had a vision for a youth center. There was nothing for kids, but this man had a vision of God or a dream, and then when he drove by these properties, he bought both properties, the one next door and I rent from, or where we started in,
Okay.
and this corner, and so he's willing to donate this property to Youth for Christ for a purpose of a youth center. So that was like maybe 19, 20 years ago.
Okay.
And so when I came to the scene 14, 15 years ago, it was that, hey, we got a property, we're not sure how it's going to look like, let's start something. So with vision comes with like, we need to start at the ground root level, right, where some programs. And so when we started these programs, and out of my studio program came a cafe house, like a coffee house night. So kids wanted to perform somewhere.
Yeah.
So I did every month coffee houses around town, found a location to do that
Nice.
in their buildings, and had tons of kids come out to that. Out of that came small groups. Some kids really wanted to connect and talk about life and faith. So that what happened on Friday nights. And then my wife started a girls club. So all these programs started to unfold, and for the need. And so we were looking at this building. Okay, so when is it going to happen? So actually, back in 2007 or 8, we started to go to the city and saying, hey, I think really we need a place for kids to go to.
Yeah.
And so we made a case. We put applications in. There was a house on this corner. We tore that down. We got a zoning approval. So it took about 3 years to get a building permit. So it took a long time.
Yeah.
So we have approval from even the local community, church community, the school board. We had some really good support. And and finally, so let me think here, in 2000 and 12, 13, we finally got our approval for the building.
Awesome.
And so we started building. It took about 9 months. And so 2014, we finally had our building. And again, it was all about donations. So we had a couple corporate donors who really supported big time.
Awesome.
And then some small donations from other corporations and local businesses, and also from individuals. And so, and we envisioned the programs that we had, how that could be implemented in this building and more. Like, what else can we do?
Yeah.
And so we really started to dream and vision for this place. And it was just not me. It was me and a board of committee members and some other local staff. And it came to existence. And it's been an amazing journey so far, for sure.
Awesome, man. So this one's a little bit more personal, but it's always a fun question to ask. Are there any resources or like specific pastors or authors or theologians or even like artists that you particularly learn from that you'd like to recommend people to check out?
That's a hard question. I would say, like, because I've been involved with YFC for 14 years, there's always been lots of resources from YFC. There were, you can learn from other staff, people that different communities doing different things. Like Toronto YFC, there was a staff member, Tim Huff, and he actually does street ministry with the local street youth. Just like the Live and Rock, right? They're doing an amazing job in Hamilton.
I actually work for them.
That's right. There we go. So you go there and you learn from them. You watch them. Resources. Within YFC, we also have a lot of resources regarding even in the mission field where we train and equip new staff. So there's a training involved. And even like an artist is interesting. An artist, Alice Cooper.
Okay.
Yeah. So here's Alice Cooper, who his music and his background. His father was a pastor, but he actually started a youth center called The Rock.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's in Arizona, in Phoenix.
Okay.
And so, so he started, and we actually were watching kind of what he was doing, right? And he built this massive youth center, and with the music studio, with a dance studio, with a drop-in area,
awesome,
stage for concerts. So it's really kind of cool to watch them.
Yeah.
And so, and then in Winnipeg YFC, we went there, and they built this $11 million youth center.
Oh my goodness!
And it was like federal, provincial, and they had to raise a portion as well. But we walked through that, and it was massive.
Yeah.
They have a climbing wall, but it's been put into an urban area,
right,
where there was a big need.
Oh yeah.
So I think it's learning from other people to see what the need is, what the community needs, and then also how do we support them in their needs.
Yeah.
And I think just learn from one another. So that's what I get most of my inspiration from.
Awesome.
And
right on.
That's kind of so far.
And I can also say that is actually the first time I've ever gotten that answer.
Okay, that's good.
So that's pretty
good.
Cool. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm a very practical kind of guy. So do I read books? Yes, some of them.
Yeah.
I learn just from doing and seeing. A visual learner, I guess. And we're also different. But and well, mostly you can read it from the scriptures, right? Where Jesus says, hey, let's go around and doing good, and the one who were in needs were the poor and the sick, and so Jesus went around doing good and healing all those who are oppressed by the devil. So I think that where we look at Jesus' life, that he went around, but he saw the needs, and that's where he went.
Yeah. Praise God.
Yeah.
Great answer, sir. What was the response from the Waterdown community to the building opening?
Yeah, I think it was great at first, but I believe they didn't see the bigger picture. Like, I don't think they really understood the needs first.
Yeah.
Right? Just like when I came to this community, like, what are the needs then? Like, what is... So we had to do quite a bit of a few presentations to our local businesses, to our, local community leaders, the city of Hamilton, to really get the stats.
Yeah.
I think that's what we're kind of looking after first. But to share the stats. Like, yes, we're a bedroom community, but do you know what happens after school? Do you know what happens in evenings? What are some of the stuff? And so the local police were also able to give us some stats on what they were seeing. But I think it was pretty much sharing the needs. And once people understood that, they came around it.
Yeah.
Because when you walk through town or you drive through town, you first thing you see, hey, it's a pretty nice community. Everything you see, it looks top notch.
We got the copper kettle.
Yeah, we got
the coachman and all that. Yeah, like,
and so I mean,
and a bunch of nice houses and old really good looking old buildings.
We don't have the homelessness problem like we see in Hamilton.
Exactly.
So what are the needs? And I think sharing that and sharing the vision for a local place where kids can come and and it doesn't matter who comes, right?
Yeah.
But it's for all.
Yeah.
All race, all groups, all people of different religions. They're welcomed here, and it's about us sharing Jesus in a way that it's like, it's not about just the theory behind it, but it's actions too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like loving your neighbor, and that's kind of really what the kids are seeing. Yeah, that's what the community is seeing.
Awesome.
So that's been really a great blessing that we can hopefully share a glimpse of Jesus through whatever programs that goes on in this building. So
awesome.
Yeah.
So are you partnered with any local churches?
Yeah, we're actually partnered with all local churches.
All local churches.
So
All right,
so it's really neat. So there's actually a really good group of leaders in the community, and they call themselves the Waterdown Church Network.
Okay.
So actually, they were here yesterday. And,
right on.
So once a month we meet, and once a month they meet somewhere else for prayer, and it's really kind of neat how it's been since I've been here. They've been already being established, but to see the connection they have with one another has been really, really strong and really healthy.
Nice.
So I believe through that they have kind of really embraced YFC, because they're also looking for a need for the youth at risk or youth that don't go to local churches, right?
Yeah.
How do we reach them? So
Yeah.
kind of YFC been kind of birthed out of that. And so with their support financially, socially, and spiritually by praying and supporting us, it's been phenomenal.
Yeah.
So I really can tell you that the Waterdown Church Network has been a great, strong play in this movement. Yeah, for sure.
And a place like this is great for that youth who's like struggling to get out to church, because there can be a bit of a hesitancy there, because you're going into a place that has either some stigma or it's just like, I don't know how I feel about this. I don't know anybody here. I used to go to the Pitch and Praise events.
Oh yeah.
And then I'd invite a buddy of mine, and he's like, okay, yeah, sure, I'm in because you're going and our friends from St. Catherine's are going. But then when he got there, he's like, hold up, there's a skate park? And it blew his mind. So then suddenly it wasn't like, okay, yeah, I'll go and hang out with you guys, but then kind of twiddle my thumbs nervously while the preaching's going on. Because then there was other stuff for people in different avenues to engage. So.
Yeah. And the neat thing is that, too, with the youth pastors in the past, we had done a few events. We still do a few events a year with them. But we actually went to the skate park with a few pastors and set up a big event there for skateboarding competition, BMX bike stuff, with some food and music. And, yeah, it's been really neat to see that community come together and be a blessing to our local community who have no connection with the local church, right?
There you go, man.
That's been awesome.
That's great. What you kind of touched on it earlier, but gonna ask anyway.
Yeah.
What programs does YFC Waterdown have? I know when I was looking on the website to actually double check for your email, I was seeing some collages from some trips down to places and stuff.
Yeah, there's been a lot of different new programs happening over the years, especially last year, as we have seen more volunteers and some more staff come in.
Awesome.
So from what I started with, so the recording studio was my first program, then the coffee houses came out after that, then the small group with kids of mentoring and discipling, and then the girls club. So we have built this place for a lot more. So now, in this place we have so I have 3 levels in our building. So it's the basement, where it's a lot of more of a drop-in area where there's pool tables, airgate tables, there's ball hockey going on, so ball hockey tournaments. We have great volunteers who love to play ball hockey and rub shoulders with the kids down there. And so the basement is a great activity room. Then the main floor is kind of a cafe area. So we actually started, we saw tons of youth during lunchtime walk through the town, going to McDonald's, Tim Hortons, kind of hanging around town. So we felt like, well, maybe they want to come in here for lunch. And so we didn't know what to do, but somehow through provision from different local businesses, we were able to provide free food for the kids.
Awesome.
And so we saw a need for some kids who did not have breakfast or lunch. and we did not want to filter them out. So so we felt like, well, let's leave it open to all. So every day we have about 40 to 60 kids that come here for lunch, and they either bring their own lunch or McDonald's, or we provide some lunch for them, and for what's been provided to us, so it doesn't cost us anything. But so that's been a great program where we see a lot of kids just hanging around the table, talking, sharing. Food always brings people to conversation, including me. Okay?
Always does, yeah.
And so that's been really good. So we continued our girls club, our boys club, the studio, like you obviously see here.
Yeah.
And we also have started an archery club.
Oh.
So yeah, what? I know, crazy. I know. Maybe we should do that. But we actually had a volunteer in our community who does that and teaches that. So
that's crazy.
From a church community. And so he came in with our local staff in the basement on Monday nights. They have a whole setup and they do archery club, and that's been crazy. So we started one timetable, and then it became two, and now we're working the third timetable somewhere around the week to provide that.
Yeah.
A lot more kids are asking for that. And one of those staff also started a junior high ministry. So that's brand new.
Cool.
It's called Chill Zone.
Nice.
So kids are dropping on Friday night, and that's been growing like crazy. We started a year ago.
Yeah.
We might had started with 5 kids. Now it became 30, and now we see more like 40, 50 kids every week drop in on Friday nights here on our main floor in our basement. And we actually get to the spot now where we have to turn kids away because we don't have enough manpower on the floor. So that's with junior high, it's a little different than senior high. You have to have more staff with kids ratio. So we're definitely looking for volunteers who can be involved, so we can actually have our doors open for all kids. So it's been really growing. So that's been great. We still do our camps, our summer camps and winter camps. Winter, we go to Florida for a whole week. We drive on a coach bus, 28 hours nonstop. And trust me, I've been there March break, but I've been there again, laying on the bus floor, get an hour of sleep or something like that. But it's been a phenomenal camp, very tiring. But no, it's been a great camp. We see all these kids come and have a blast, but also hear about Jesus. And so that's our goal, right? Build relationship, sharing the love of Christ, and then for them to hear it too. And so that's the winter camp, March break, and then summer camp as well. We go up north for a couple days, and it's been really great to camps to see relationships being formed. So we do camps, we do activities, different groups in the building, different programs. And we get into maybe some counseling. We want to see some more counseling being available, professional counseling, and that's something we'll work on still right now to build relationship with that community. How can we, connect with other people in the local community for counseling, and but it's definitely it's been growing. So it sounds really like it. And I forgot one thing, the bridge. So this is something new as well. A year ago, because we see kids, we were working with the age range from like 10 till 17, 18, and when they leave high school, they're out there, right? So where do they go? And so we see actually some of the youth from when they're done high school come back because they liked it here, and they still want to connect. So we actually started something called the Bridge, where it's for 18 to 25-year-olds. And so that's Thursday night, and it's been phenomenal where they start to connect again, and again sharing about life and faith, and you see the need. They're kind of out there, and it's like, where do I fit in? And so we have a group of, I think it's like 10 to 15 right now, coming in here on Thursday night, and they're loving it. So so we're providing younger and to the older now, and in the summer we do summer camps all summer long with Scott Burton you met earlier. And he does summer camps for grade 1 to 6 actually.
Awesome.
So we're covering all these ages now.
You got the age group, man. You got Waterdown on lock.
So it's been crazy, but it's been good. It's been really good. So
what do you think is a difficulty faced by the church today?
That's a good question. I'm in the local church as well. And our youth group at our local church is pretty good. I just think that, including myself, growing up in the church, right, is that the faith that we provide, the teaching, but even from the parents' perspective, it's a parent's faith. They bring the kids to church. And sometimes I believe that kids need to experience God themselves, right? It's where you can have it in, all the knowledge in your head, but it needs to sink down to your heart, about a foot down, right? And so it's where they need to experience God. And I think if they go through the routine of life, then it becomes something like maybe the parents are pushing them to go to church or to youth group or whatever. And I think it's good.
Yeah.
But our teaching comes also from home. It should start at home.
Yeah.
Right? But after that, it should be like, well, they need to experience God themselves, because then it becomes real to them.
Exactly.
And I think when kids need to experience that God is real, that Jesus is real, get that God's still alive today, He wants to be involved in their lives, and use them. And I think we need to give kids, including myself, I got a 13 or 15-year-old now, two boys. I want them to encounter God, and I want to see how God can use them with their giftings and their talent. And I think the issue is that kids getting bored.
Yeah.
And I think, and not because of maybe the church wrongdoing, but I want to see kids come alive in Christ. And how to do that, I don't have a clear answer for that.
Yeah.
But they do seem to go to church, and then through the high school years, go to the universities, and then they don't come back. And
it's something I had a conversation with a friend of mine who's a youth pastor out in I can't remember. It's a really small town, like 6 hours out in Ontario. But both of us were noticing, and he was really trying hard to do it, where the model of youth ministry for so long had been like, okay, you guys this is youth ministry, and you're an island unto yourself. You're off over here. And he was very adamant and like, I'd like to try to get like a youth service Sunday happening more than once every couple months. Like, I'd love to have it bi-monthly, if not monthly.
Yeah.
Like, get the youth plugged back more in.
Yeah.
Just because he's like, I grew up in a town where it was like that, and so many of them are like, okay, but I haven't made any connections in church, so now that I'm out of the youth group, I don't know what to do.
Yeah. But also, I believe too, is that coming together is great, but also missions or whatever it is that they can actually experience.
Yes. Yeah.
Right, by practical things. So that they would actually go out, be in a community, maybe kind of in a situation that is not comfortable, and then they see God work through that.
Yeah.
And so I think that experiences would help to shape them a bit of, you know what, maybe it's good to come together and maybe once a month a music worship night or come together, but also for them to go out and actually see, guiding them into community, saying, hey, God can use you whatever way. Because then they experience God.
Yeah.
Because I believe that Jesus said, come follow me.
Yeah.
The following is actually seeing what Jesus did. And he actually would send them out later, right?
Yeah.
Now go out, and then you go do it. So they learned a lot from doing.
No, exactly. It wasn't like, follow me, but first, read this like laundry list of books before you do anything else.
No, it's all part of the teaching.
All right, let's go.
Yeah.
Drop your fishing net and come with.
Totally. I'll make you fisher of men. So it's going to be look a little different.
Yeah.
But if you obey me, you will see where God can use you. And later he would train them to the point where they experienced it. Right? They rejoiced at what God did to them.
Yeah.
And then he would leave and say, hey, just wait. I'll be with you to the end of the age. So they actually left on their own. So they had to do it.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of the we're a little bit missing. And we're trying.
Yeah.
I'd like to see more of that.
Yeah. Oh, sir, I got to give you a huge high five after this.
Okay.
I'm stoked by that.
Right on.
What has been your biggest struggles as someone in missions?
The biggest struggle, I think, is always support.
Yeah.
That's funny, because we always like to support missionaries who go overseas. But there's a big mission field right here. And because we live here, people get to know us, sometimes we think, well, they're okay. Well, a lot of times it's hard to even raise your own personal support. Yeah. And I think that's with most local missionaries. There are also big organizations out there, and I support them as well. But the local small guys, small organizations are struggling. So the financial support for local missionaries is always the toughest thing, because you have to raise your own support, like the full 100% of your own salary, right?
Exactly.
Again, sharing the vision, what you're doing and why you're doing it. And so I that is one. Definitely put people to come around you, even in prayer and encouragement. As you're counseling the front lines, you have to deal with a lot of things. including, we see a lot of anxiety, depression, and suicide rate go up, right? And so you're dealing like with kids all the time who are sharing stuff on information with you, and you have to process that too.
Yeah.
You're taking that sometimes home.
Yeah.
So there's people around us as well to say, hey, how can I support you? How can I encourage you? How can I pray for you? And I think that is also we all go through difficult things, don't get me wrong. I mean, even
absolutely.
if you're not in mission,
Yeah.
we all have struggles, but sometimes if you're constantly in the trenches,
it weighs on you.
It weighs on you.
It does.
And we do see after so many years a certain peak where people are getting burned out.
Well, the burnout, and then also the other risk is almost like the compassion fatigue.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I don't have the capacity to feel empathetic.
And as if you work with people, you not see the results right away.
Exactly.
Right? And I worked in the print shop. I see my printed posters right away. I'm like, hey, go home. Like, hey, I've done something today. When it comes to people, they're not going to give you instantly a feedback. Oh, I learned so much from you, or I've grown so much, or God has done this in my life, and that comes later.
Exactly. We live in such an instant culture where it's like, I'm signed up for Prime and I'll get it next day or 2 days from now, or
so you can
my
invest.
Movie's downloaded in half an hour off of iTunes.
Totally, and you can invest so much into people. But you have to step back and say, okay, I've done what I could.
Yeah.
I've spoken truth in love and encouragement, and leave it with God. And that's something you have to learn over the time, for sure.
Absolutely, yeah.
But there's been many times where I felt like, do I make a difference? Is God at work? And it's also a spiritual battle too.
Oh, yeah.
Don't forget, it's definitely true.
Yeah,
so,
and then the enemy's going to be hitting you because you're working hard against him.
Totally.
Yeah.
That's so true.
Well, I have been, but I'll definitely keep praying for you, my good
Thank you so much, my brother. Awesome.
So what are some of the ways you see the Lord at work in Waterdown?
So good. I think people are hungry for truth.
Yeah.
I think people are hungry for something real. They've tried, you look in this world right now, there's so much going on.
Oh my goodness.
And I believe the young people, they even see it more on the devices because they have the media to the fingertips, right?
Yep.
So all I see is, if you look at the news too at night, destruction, deceit, pain, suffering, you see it all around you. And if some religions group, the religion would sometimes even go at it with each other, right? You see it in the world as well. So what is hope then? What is truth? And that's the question that's out there. And they would look on the online for different truths.
Yeah.
But what is truth? And I believe that is when we can bring truth to the people, meaning really sharing, building into people, like relationship, right? Caring. I think people are just like, when I go out there, and I go out there every week. Sometimes every Friday morning we go out and we go out and pray for people.
Awesome.
It's kind of interesting. I just started doing that, but you see how many conversations I have with people.
Yeah.
They're looking for truth, and what is truth? And it's been great to share Jesus with people wherever we go. But they don't walk away with, well, I don't want to hear anything about this religion, but I want something for real. What is real? What is truth? And I can share my testimony. I can share that God has changed my life. The Bible, Jesus is truth, what he said, who he was and is. And so people have enough information to their fingertips, but they have to pick and choose.
Yeah.
And that's the hardest part, because they cannot see it.
Yeah.
How do they see it? It's the church being mobilized and showing.
Yeah.
And so I think that is kind of what the people are hungry for, something real. And not even, the younger generation for sure, but also the older.
Yeah.
They're also confused as well.
Well, yeah.
So I think right now, and Jesus even said it, the harvest is plentiful, right? It's plentiful.
Exactly,
it's ripe. It's ready.
Yeah.
But where are the workers? So that's always in the back of my head. Like, okay, God said, Jesus said that it's ready.
Yeah.
So they just need someone to meet them. So and that's my heart. I'm evangelist at heart, but that's my heart, to see more and more people go out and meet those people that are looking for truth.
Yeah.
And it could be down in a building or outside a building. It doesn't matter.
Could be on the street in front of the Tim's or the McDonald's.
Totally.
Yeah, man.
So that's what it is, man.
How can people support YFC Waterdown?
Yeah, good. So we have a website.
Yeah.
People can go to the website and the financial support could be done through that. And especially, I believe, the programs, operational support, but mostly also the staff support is where we need. And then there's volunteers, like I mentioned earlier. We would love to see more people involved. Not everybody is willing to dive into a group of junior highs, and but maybe it's something you want to serve by being in the kitchen and serve them food, or maybe you want to just play a game of chess with a kid, or it's slowly. We're all different pace, and that's fine. Volunteering maybe in some of the events that we do, just to raise support, or be an adversary. That's what I would say. For the rest, people can check out the website. There's always needs there.
I'm making sure I'm linking that when I post this.
Totally. And if people have any questions regarding the ministries too, then they can send us a message, and we can definitely sit down with them and see what their giftings are and their talents, and how can we implement that into, just like we have with the AIM program. Someone really has a talent or a gifting in teaching younger kids about archery, and so that person came, we connected with him, and it's been running phenomenally, and kids love it, and this volunteer is in his glory because he's going to get the chance to teach it and connect with kids too, right? So whatever your passion is, for sure.
Absolutely. And then finally, my good sir, what would you say to someone who's thinking about a vocation in missions ministry?
I would say, first of all, pray about it. When I was in the print shop, I prayed for 3 years. I was in a place there, and God, come on, I want to do mission for you. My heart has changed. You've changed me. Show me, right? And I think that's always the question. How does God will show you? Is by prayer. And maybe God will put something on your path. When it comes to missions, what direction is that? What do you have for me? You know me better than I know myself. And so for me, it was God putting youth on my path, and as I just came out of all those struggles, and passion. What's your passion? What do you love to do? What if and maybe God will show you some new traits as well you have. But you have not explored yet.
Exactly.
So and finally. Mission. So it could be locally, it could be globally, right? My heart is mostly locally, but I'm getting into more globally as well. My backyard and around the world, because Jesus sent them out from Jerusalem to Judea, Samaria, and the rest of the world. So there's a couple different areas we can pursue. But definitely I would tell people, look in your heart, what is God telling you? Pray about it, and ask God to open the doors to whatever He has for you. And it might be scary. I mean, when I think about Peter stepping out of the boat on the waves, and he was the only one, right? The rest still sat on the boat, and I think it looks scary, the waves and the wind, and how's finance going to work out? And when I started, I had a newborn, a 2-year-old, a mortgage to pay, and one car, and how am I going to do this all? But God provided. It's been an amazing journey, and He will provide. And I'll ask same thing when it comes to missions. Ask God, even that, how do you provide that for me? Because we all have some needs, but He's our provider. He knows our needs. So that's what I could share with you so far is pray about it, ask God. If something comes your path, pray over it. And actually, the one thing, if you have a spouse, do it together. Because that's what you need. You need to have to be in this together. And I was really glad, and I'm really blessed that my wife is with me on this journey, and so that's the Trinity, right? the connection, the triangle is me, my wife, and with God. We do it together.
Awesome.
So that's what I would encourage, and if God calls you overseas, and that's whatever that is, let God make it known to you.
Indeed. All right, Marcel, thank you so much for taking the time to do this with me, man. It was great to connect with you and hear more of your story. And man.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really blessed, and it's been exciting to see you again. And hopefully meet again. And
definitely, sir.
Very good.
And dear listener, I'll be posting the link to the YFC Waterdown website in the post. Make sure you check it out. And if you can, please pray for Marcel and the team here But also, if you do have the financial resources, or you live close and you're like, you know what, this place sounds awesome and I'd like to volunteer, please consider it, pray over it, and do it. As someone who ran a drop-in program for YFC, like, the need of volunteers is big, but the teams do value volunteers. They're not just looking for people to make up the numbers. They're looking for a great fit. So please consider, or if you know anybody near the Waterdown area who's like, I kind of want to do something with my time, send them this way.
Yeah, I would love to have them.
Thanks for listening, and hope you guys have a wonderful day. God bless, my friends. Take care.